Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Let's get started this morning by having our conversations on CARICOM. And that's where we will now take some time to look at the CARICOM Skilled Workers Program, which is in effect with the Association of the European Union. And joining us to take a look at that is Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, His Excellency David Comissiong. And he brings along with us two of our CARICOM neighbours, really. From Belize, Marilynn Tulcey, and from Dominica, Roseline Matthew, who are teachers. Good morning, each of you.
Good morning,
Pearson.
Good morning. Ambassador, let's start with you. Put into context this CARICOM Skilled Workers Program. What is it about and how has it been going so far?
Well, first of all, I should say that it's a collaboration between the CARICOM Secretariat and the European Union, who are providing some support for it. Basically, it's all about the CSME and the implementation of the CSME. And the idea is to take some key stakeholders from CARICOM member states, send them to other CARICOM member states on work attachments so that they can get some practical experience. It can help with their self-development, to increase their own individual capacity to engage in the Caribbean integration movement, specifically the CSME component of Caribbean integration, and even more particularly, the freedom of movement of CARICOM skilled nationals. So this program began last Monday, the 6th of March. And it began with teachers. You know, teachers are one of the categories within the skilled national movement. So 19 teachers are involved in this component of the program, from Barbados, Belize, St. Kitts and Nevis, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana. But this is just the first component of the program. So we have received 3 teachers, 2 from Dominica and 1 from Belize on 2-week work attachments in Barbados. So the teacher component of it is the first component, but there will be other components later in the year involving CARICOM youth ambassadors, involving immigration officers, involving CARICOM focal points who will move out of their home territory and will go on work attachment in other CARICOM member states. And this will also help them to become better advocates of Caribbean integration.
And have a greater appreciation and understanding, I suppose, for how different cultures in the Caribbean operate.
Yes, that's the whole idea. I'm sure these ladies will share some insights about what they learned about Barbados, the Barbadian people, the Barbadian culture.
Indeed. As teachers, they're also learning. Marilynn Tulcey is from Belize. Marilynn, good morning to you. And how does it feel to be a part of this program, now the opportunity to be here? And what have you been doing since you've been here?
Good morning. Good morning. I feel very much excited to be here. While we do have a lot in common, there's a lot of differences as well. It's definitely a teaching and learning experience. It's not just for me to create an awareness in the classroom for students to be aware of CSME, but for me as well, because the demography is different, the culture is different. So far, I've been in the classroom since last week, Monday, and I have been teaching about CSME. The students, they're pretty much receptive to me as an individual. Many of them have questions. Some of them are very much interested in the integration movement.
And so what have you learned from the experience so far?
A lot of acceptance and appreciation, because Barbados is far away from us. It's a little bit different in terms of the culture. I have learned a lot about the food. Specifically, yes, we do eat a lot that's common, but it is definitely prepared differently here. And most of all, I am able to connect with people that are from different regions that I had not been doing before. And so this is one of the very important thing for me to stay in contact with these people so that we are able to move. Basically, we have some kind of contact so that you don't feel isolated when you visit one of these Caribbean countries.
Indeed. Her name is Marilynn Tulcey, I'm corrected. Now, Roseline Matthews, you're from Dominica, and you've been interacting with the students of Springer Memorial School, an all-female school there. How has been that experience for you thus far?
Yes, good morning again. I must say that my experience has been great. And this is one thing I can tell you about Dominicans. We are very friendly. And just being able to travel, you know, outside and come to Barbados and experience that level of friendliness, I feel very happy to know that as Caribbean people, you know, we are exemplaries, you know, when it comes to really making people feel welcome. At Springer Memorial, I have to mention, you know, the warmth and the hospitality that I felt. And, you know, when I interacted with the principal and the deputy and the teachers and the students, you know, I feel so good. And the students, you know, they made me cry, you know. And why did I cry? Because the warmth that I felt and the connection, you know, that I experienced, it was so warm and friendly. They were just hugging me. And you know, yesterday one student asked me, when are you leaving? I said, I'm leaving, you know, on the weekend. She said, oh, already? You know, so I like that. And at home, I'm normally that person that connects with the students. And I'm happy to know that, you know, it's not just, you know, something that is being said, but it's something that, you know, we can truly experience.
And put into action, yes. And so, having had this experience now among those young ladies from the Springer Memorial School, what do you better understand about CSME, the workings of CSME, the differences and the similarities that exist in our region?
Yes, yes. I have noticed there are many similarities and there are differences as well. But one of the things that I notice as it relates to the similarities and differences is that some of the students, they were not aware of some of these similarities and differences. For example, when we looked at, you know, the countries that are part of CARICOM, and looking at, you know, the economic status of the countries, you know, many of the students felt that Barbados is a developed country. And then, you know, when I was able to show them the pictures and, you know, flashcards of a developed country, underdeveloped country, and developing countries, right there, they were able to see, okay, a similarity of our Caribbean countries is that we are developing countries. And this was something that really, 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 you know, was amazing to them. And yeah, I really appreciate that, you know, passing on that knowledge. When we look at our other similarities and differences, you know, in the Caribbean, we are energetic, we like music, you know, we speak different, you know, we call foods and different things, you know, by different names. So for example, when it comes to music, well, we are aware of Calypso, but in Dominica, we have what is called the bouyon music. And they didn't know of that difference, you know, so sharing, there was this opportunity to share, you know, and to learn, you know, different things from each other. And even this week, I'm hoping to learn more and share more.
Indeed. And so, Ambassador, when we hear these tales from these ladies, you know, it shows that while we sit here and we think we know it all, there's still so much more that we can appreciate about each other, and still so much more we need to learn about each other. But there's a coming together at the end of it all of the peoples of the region for the region as well. So the program really works.
Well, that's why CARICOM came up with the freedom of movement regime. And, you know, the idea ultimately is that we will have full freedom of movement across CARICOM, but we are getting there in stages. And so we have started with the Skilled Nationals program. This is where if you have one of these 12 categories of skills, you can apply for your CARICOM skills certificate. And that, once you have that certificate, then you now have the right to move across CARICOM, to reside and work without the need for any work permit. And I must say that when I first met these ladies last week, Monday, when we had a launch of the program at the Ministry of Education last week, Monday, I asked these ladies, do you have your skills certificate? And no one had their skills certificate. I guess it hadn't occurred to them yet that, you know, they should get this, because perhaps they don't need it, but who knows? They may very well need it in the future. They may decide that they want to leave either Belize or Dominica and come to work maybe permanently, maybe in Barbados.
Yes.
And you need that skills certificate. So both of these ladies have taken the opportunity of being here in Barbados to start the process with our Barbados Accreditation Council. I think they were just lacking, like, I think the birth certificate they didn't have with them, so they couldn't complete it. But once they get back home and they send a copy of their birth certificate, they will complete the process, and our Barbados Accreditation Council will send them their CARICOM skills certificate. So, you know, I want to use this opportunity to send out a message to all of our Barbadian people. If you fit into any one of the 12 categories, and that's from agricultural workers, security officers, teachers, nurses, artisans, artists, musicians, media workers like you, Pearson, university graduates, associate degree holders, it's really, you know, broad categories of persons. Go to the Barbados Accreditation Council, get your skills certificate, and then just as Roseline and Marilynn are doing, you would be able to move to another CARICOM country and work.
It sounds so exciting indeed. And you know, part of the program I noticed was that, ladies, you had a chance to live literally in homes rather than in hotels, which I thought was really fascinating. And you also took some time to go to different locations. Marilynn, where did you go, and where did some of the places of interest in Barbados that you went?
Some of the places seem to be unfamiliar. Basically, the names, I am not familiar with them, but I have been along the beach. I have been to St. George. I have been to St. Andrews. And I have been basically to this old college that I did not realize that had some kind of connection to Belize, which is the Codrington College.
Yes.
Yes, we have a St. John's College in Belize as well. And we also have churches that have similar architecture. And so I had no idea that across the Caribbean I would come and find these similarities. Observation, we have a lot of beaches in Belize as well. But I find out here that some of the beaches here, they're pretty much more whiter than what we have in Belize. The landscape is also different. But what I do notice that, and I'm proud to say that Barbadians are doing this, is they are taking preventative measure when it comes to erosion. And since you're a very small country, I think that is very, very important. I noticed that there's a lot of gabions along the way as we drove on Saturday. And I do like that idea because that's the only way we can conserve our land. Other very important aspect that I noticed happening is the use of alternative energy. I saw windmill, I saw solar panel, and I believe that is the way that we are to go, because we have less dependence on fossil fuel. Of course, we do have a lot of fossil fuel in the Caribbean, and so that is one of the best thing that we can do, is to harness those natural resources that we have available.
In a few words, how would you explain to your colleagues when you return to the Belize about your experience and your time in Barbados? What would you say?
It is absolutely awesome. I enjoyed it.
I feel your energy already. What about you, Roseline? And talk to me about where you went while you were here and the experience really of living in homes in Barbados rather than in hotels.
Yes. One of the things, just like Marilynn, I may not remember the names of the places, but we went on a tour, and that was great. We traveled basically along the East Coast, and we saw a number of historical sites, and this is very important. I noticed about Barbados, every opportunity to record history, you take it, and I think history is very, very, very important. And while we traveled, we went to as we traveled into the different parishes, our tour guide Brown was letting us know, hey, in every parish there is a parish church. And
Yes.
we visited some of these the grounds of these churches, and this helped me to understand as a social studies teacher, when it comes to diversity in the Caribbean. I was taught in school, and I teach as well, that our religion, the religious, practices mainly came from Europe. And so on that tour, visiting the different parishes and looking at the churches, I learned of the Anglican religion that's so popular in Barbados. And I'm like, I'm thankful for this tour, this experience, because I'm now better able to understand, why it is that religion came from
European.
the Europeans. Yes, so that was very good. And living with the people in the community, this is a great experience. Actually, I'm living at Pastor Haynes,
Yes.
apartments, and I am able to experience the touch. And to me, if we're talking about integration, moving in, traveling to different Caribbean countries, that touch of warmth is very, very important. And I am hoping that even through this experience, our people will better understand, why we must integrate, and to really, create that space that we all can thrive. Because if I have to get my skill certificate and move to Barbados, or move to Grenada, move to Antigua, I want to feel at home. And considering one of our similarities, we are all descendants, from, well, not from slaves, but some of us come from Europeans, Asians, but we are all descendants. And so we have to learn to appreciate the fact that, the Caribbean is ours. It's not mine alone. It's not, yours alone. We are one. And so I am experiencing that right where I live, and I'm very thankful to that. I went to the mall, and all these different sites, and I am very, very thankful. I interacted with the vendors on the street where I
Yes.
bought coconut water. I ate that coconut from the shell. It's similar to
Yes.
Dominica. And, I love it. I love the experience. And I want us to get that message that if we are going to integrate, if we are going to unite, we have to recognize, yes, we we have differences, but we have similarities too. And so the similarities outweigh the differences. And so we must take this opportunity to appreciate our differences, and to really love each other and unite.
Well said, Roseline, indeed. Ambassador, I'm so proud of these two ambassadors as well. We've just built out a whole community of ambassadors, indeed. I want to thank all of you because we're out of time. But clearly the program works. And I'm excited to hear what else we can come up with now at CARICOM and supported by the European Union as well. But thank you all for joining us. I welcome these ladies back to Barbados real soon. Do come back and bring some friends and relatives with you. Share with your folks when you return to your respective destinations about Barbados and the education system, because that's what you've been a part of. But the peoples of Barbados, and send a message. We need to travel. We need to get to know each other more by coming and visiting each other so we can experience what each other has to offer as well. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.
You're very welcome indeed. Ambassador David Comissiong, Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, Marilynn Tulcey, a teacher from Belize, and Roseline Matthew, a teacher from Dominica. Don't you feel inspired now to go get your skill certificate? Go to the Barbados Accreditation Council's website and do it.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning.